Hello, is it Friday yet?
It is indeed.
All right. Welcome to another installation of TechTalk. It is Friday. Mike, I hand it over to you. Give us some feedback on what you've been hearing.
So definitely a good topic that we do hear quite a bit is, I don't know, it's a bit out there, but very hard concrete. Just some of the, tooling and things like that, but maybe some of the processes and do's and don'ts to help us along with the very hard concrete, guys. What are some of your thoughts?
Walk away. Very hard concrete, walk away.
Vinyl.
Oh, ceramics. Put ceramic tile down. What do you reckon, Milan?
Just put a leveler down and walk away. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, okay.
It's been a great talk, guys.
Well, let's be a bit more specific. When do we call concrete hard? Which MPa are we talking about? 32 plus MPa? How do we find hard? Like, let's talk about firstly what kind of hard, and then get into about processes. Josh, what is hard concrete?
We typically call concrete hard when we fall on it. That's when we know it's hard. That's when we refer to it as hard. The thing you say, hard concrete, I'm not necessarily convinced it's hard concrete. Yes, we can talk about 50 MPa plus as being our yardstick here. There are so many contributing factors that basically give us the impression that this is very hard concrete. And I say that because we get a telephone call from people saying, I've got really hard concrete here and nothing is cutting it. This doesn't necessarily tell me anything about the concrete, all right? So when we say really hard concrete, Daniel, if we were to say north of 50 MPa is where I start to say that's getting into hard territory. 60 is really getting quite hard. 80 is good grief, that's hard. That would be my scale. In most instances, however, when we're getting the telephone call, this is really hard concrete. It's not always the concrete that is hard from an MPa perspective.
Yep. Concrete
is made from sand, cement, and aggregates, and sometimes a bit of other stuff. Understanding that it's sand, cement, and aggregate, not a lot of things there that are going to influence our productivity rates outside of our diamond tooling selection, but what is really going to impact it is our technique. So when people call me up and say I've got really hard concrete, it's very hard to quantify unless they've actually got some critical data, batch reports and that sort of stuff that actually quantify that or prove that. I hope that answers your question is what is hard concrete?
That's
what
good.
We're referring to.
Absolutely.
I think when it comes to grinding, I think the MPa is kind of irrelevant, I should say. It's more how it's actually been finished by the concreter, because we are looking at texture here. You can have an 80 MPa slab. What happens if you broom it? How easy is that to grind down? We've got texture. Really, tooling, yes, absolutely affects it, but it's also the technique and knowing what the surface you're working with and how to get the best out of your tooling. So if you don't have the texture, let's create texture.
Absolutely. And like you say, Milan, it's got more to do with technique than it does to do with the actual material. If we know a bit about the materials, and we have actually been able to quantify that from a batch report, that it's got very hard, very dense materials inside there. On top of that, it's also been installed in such a way that creates a lot more density in its installation finishing. Okay, now we might be starting to talk about hard concrete. The principles for grinding it, however, are still going to be the same. Like you say, we want to grind it, so we want to ensure that the tool is kept cool, so that it encourages the actual alloy from the metal bond to wear and stay under control from a heat or thermal perspective, and then actually creating abrasion for the diamond particles to be consistently revealed, if you like, keeping the alloy wearing away and exposing new sharp diamond particles. If, as a technician, this is all that we're focused on, we're just going to keep our eyes on the temperature, really, and what's coming out the back of the machine. Yep. Then we'll focus on what types of things influence that.
So going back a little bit, a few weeks ago, like one of our recent seminars, this is the hardest concrete, you're gonna need super softs, right? This is a prime example based on what you just said there, Josh, early on.
Just good.
So coming back to what you said, like it can appear really hard because it's been, let's say, finished a certain way, it's been highly burnt, and now you're trying to break through the crust, which appears extremely hard. What is the best way to attack that particular scenario?
I'll be specific about that scenario, Daniel. It's really hard for me to do this without actually showing you. I'm a visual guy. Mm-hmm. In that particular scenario, what we did is we did a run at the speed that it was perceived would be a good walking speed and a good disc and head speed. Mm-hmm. And the operator did their pass based on, I'm going to say, habit. Okay. Habitually, I think this is a good production speed. Well, in 40 minutes, we hadn't put more than 10 kilograms of dust into the bag. Right. When we changed the technique slightly, we slowed down the wheel speed, and that made a improvement because we're now grinding deeper, slightly deeper into the material. So getting past the burnt finish, getting into some of the coarser particles. That was improving things a bit, but not so dramatically. What made the biggest difference was when on startup, we had the speeds of the planetary down at 5, the discs at 7, and on startup, we put it into run, and then we just let it sit for a bit. For about a good 10, 15 seconds in the one spot. That cut a donut in the floor, and then we started to see production when we started to push that donut. The reason why we start to get really good production out of pushing the donut is because we got the front of the machine working in that coarse aggregate, that coarse sand material. That coarse sand material really likes to wear away at the alloy in the diamond tool. Mm-hmm. That keeps it sharp. Yeah. At the back of the machine, it's already cutting into the aggregate which is really, really dense. All right. That helps the front. So the front helps to keep the tool open so that it has good cutting power when it's at the back cutting into the aggregate. But there's more. Because we've got that donut, what we've effectively done is created a line of pressure in front of the machine. We've got all of the weight of the machine pushing up against that little rim that's in front of it, all right? Because there's a lip. And now we're just punching into the lip, loaded up with tons more pinpoint pressure, and that just bites away at the concrete. Kind of like when we do hand grinding and we work in from the side with the front of the cup wheel, and it can take off a serious amount of stock working into it from the front versus working from the top down. Yeah. Similar type of scenario. We get a lot of point loading on the front of the cup wheel. We're just doing the same thing with the grinder. That's encouraging good wear. It's got tons of point loading on the front of the tool, and all of these things work together to go deep and to give you a really good and even aggregate reveal. From a operator's perspective, all that you're looking at and what is determining your forward travel speed is what's coming at the back. Just that consistent aggregate exposure. If you're not seeing that, you're pushing too fast.
The interesting thing as well is we thought it was going to be hard concrete, to then changing the technique to work out. We didn't use super softs, we used softs, which were about 4 mil in 30 square meters. So that just shows you, like, once you understand the process better and know what kind of layer you need to be sitting in for your tool to work, then you're doing 6-minute bags. I mean, how quick did we do the bags?
Without changing any tooling, only changing the parameters. Remember, we hardly put 10 kilos in that bag. When we changed the parameters, just to change the technique, we filled that bag 25 kilograms in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We didn't change the tooling, nothing.
The other interesting thing that I learned at our last seminar, and it's always good, like that stood out to me, and that was from one of our very experienced contractors that assisted us, was by actually reducing the actual speed. Correct me if I'm wrong, planetary speed or this speed, I can't remember now.
Planetary speed.
Is by actually reducing the amount of speed, we're creating more friction. So our diamond tooling is cutting harder because it's not skidding, it's cutting harder because it's going slower.
Another effect on a dual drive machine that happens when you reduce the planetary speed is you don't lose the down pressure, because through centrifugal force, the faster you spin the planetary, the less down pressure you get through, the loss in centrifugal force. Yeah. So if you want to concentrate that weight more downward, you need to slow down the planetary head to get more downward pressure on the discs.
Just a reminder too, guys, all of this stuff that we talk about, you mentioned the seminar, so 12th to the 15th, I should say, in July for the next Vic seminar. I think, Malone, you've got New South coming up as well.
Yeah, we've got New South Wales seminar coming up at 7th of June, which is next month, so not many weeks to go. So yeah, sign up for it. This is what we talk about. This is what we demonstrate, that just by changing your technique, that you can be so much more productive. It's no point of, having a bricky hammer and then using the pointing end to try and hit the nail. You're just not going to be productive. But it's the same tool, just learning how to use it or how to get the most out of it. It's going to help you be more productive and less obstacles on your job site. It doesn't have to be that hard, even though the concrete is hard.
And like Milan said, we do demonstrate all of this stuff at the seminars. Daniel, we also demonstrated something else, the combination of the changing technique, keeping the bond the same. And then we threw something else at it that made it go ballistic, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
From a production perspective. Remember, the things that we really need to keep under control is that temperature in the tool. We can do that by reducing the speed or adding something to the actual concrete to cool it down, and then ensuring that there's adequate texture to wear away the alloy. Correct. So what do we do, Daniel? We pull something out of a bucket.
Yeah, it's our great Cutsick. Ding, ding, ding. Cutsick, our cutting accelerator. Absolutely amazing. Like, that's just increased our speed again by actually adding that abrasive material on the floor. I think at the time we laid it down sort of quite heavy as well, just to see what you can get out of it. And the performance increased quite dramatically again.
Yeah, we then saw 30 kilograms inside of 6 minutes, but that's when we actually started to push on the diamond tool wear. So,
yeah.
Yes.
What are you guys doing? I mean, you're talking about these two major things that can really change things for you, Cutsick and technique. One of them doesn't cost anything, and the other one's one of the cheapest products we've got. So What are you doing, guys? We're here to push our tooling, aren't we? We've got to just, sell everything and do everything. But no, it is all about trying to help people out, isn't it? Just to get people going.
And to be honest with you, your biggest advantage lies in your technique. And even if you do throw Cutsick at it and you don't change your technique to capitalise on what you've just put on the floor, you are not going to see anywhere near the advantages.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like for us, for all those grindpreneurs out there grinding, there's no benefit for us to just wearing the diamonds out. I mean, there is in the sense, because we want you guys to succeed. And that means if you have that technique down packed and you have those fundamentals right, and that's what we love teaching at those seminars. So it's really great what we're doing. I love it. We're here to help.
Spot the guy pushing on that donut, and pushing through, and he's got the technique and he's got the Cutsick down, and I promise you the other thing, he'll probably have a smile on the dial as well.
Yeah.
100%.
So,
what I don't like about high productivity is it makes your job very inefficient. You start having to switch the machine off more often to empty those bags, and I find that very inefficient.
What are you switching machines off? Just push a button on the remote, mate.
Well, I know, but just all those bags.
That's where you got to employ the young fella.
We're going to have to switch this all off because it's Friday afternoon.
I'm going to go and grind some very hard beers.
Well done, guys. A fantastic week. Hey, so much good stuff happening in the industry, and we just see so much of this good quality mechanically polished concrete going on out there. It's really exciting to us. It's overwhelming, actually, the level of quality that we're seeing as the average today in the marketplace. So I just want to say, hey, we see it, we recognise it. You guys are doing a fantastic job. We think you guys deserve to have a beer and a good weekend.
All righty, boys.
All right, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.